He's partying. Anyhow, those just came out. But look at it closely. And all the details.
Gotta have a little comedy. They got me an elevator for my chair so they don't just see the top of my bald head.
When you push it down,
Because
does
when I
it
put
rip
the
up?
chair down, my legs touch. I'm looking out like that.
That's pretty cool.
He made one for me, the military.
Yeah.
This is Navy.
Mine's Navy.
Yeah.
That is real cool. He makes some cool stuff.
All right. Now
Okay.
the coffee's cooled down.
We're good.
Everybody's here but Jack. Jack won't be here.
That makes me sad.
Yeah. We're gonna find Jack. Okay.
Who else is going to give me a hard time about everything? Yes, I can if you really want it. Okay. But you won't say anything about me wearing a skirt. Kind of weird.
I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Would you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Could we have a roll call, please?
Sure.
Sure.
Mike's not working, so I'll just talk loud.
Okay.
Councilmember Kelly.
Present.
Councilmember Miller is absent. Councilmember Lane.
Here.
Councilmember Mendoza.
Here.
Councilmember Best.
Here.
Vice Mayor Turner.
Here.
And Mayor Crowell.
Here. Okay, let's go on to introductions, presentations, and proclamation. The first proclamation is declaring May 25th and 26th, 2018 as Poppy Days, sponsored by the American Legion Auxiliary. And I guess we have someone from the auxiliary here. You want to come down close? You just want to?
Okay.
Anybody that's with your group, come on up.
It's me.
Okay, come on, don't bring close. If you don't have my permission, you can go sit back down.
If you always get in there, somebody come on. There you go.
But then I'd have to put up with you. Proclamation, Poppy Days, May 25th, 26th, 2018. Whereas America is the land of freedom, preserved and protected willingly and freely by citizen soldiers. And whereas millions who have answered the call to arms have died on the field of battle. And whereas a nation of peace at peace must be reminded of the price of war and the debt owed to those who have died in war. And whereas the red poppy has been designated as a symbol of sacrifice of lives in all wars, and whereas the American Legion Auxiliary has pledged to remind America annually of this debt through the distribution of the memorial flower. Now therefore, I, Darrell Croft, Mayor of the town of Chino Valley, do hereby proclaim May 25th, 26th, 2018 as Poppy Days in Chino Valley, Arizona, and ask that all citizens pay tribute to those who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the name of freedom by wearing the memorial poppy on this day. In witness thereof, I hereto set my hand and cause the seal of the town of Chino Valley to be affixed this date, 22nd day of May, 2018. Yes.
This is our biggest fundraiser we have for our vets. All the money we raise, donations from you all, stay here in this area because the VA, U.S. vets, help vets' families out. And 100% goes to the vets. And it's our biggest fundraiser. And then we also have a couple we're doing the year for them too, but this is our big one in this nation. It's great. And we appreciate everybody's help with it. So I hope to see you this weekend and wear your poppy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Regent. All right, thank you.
Y'all have a nice evening.
Did you pass that down?
You might be dreaming.
I thought this was for me. Karaoke night.
Going to come up, Frank. Introduction of the new Assistant Town Engineer, Stephen Sullivan. Frank Marbury, Public Works Director and Town Engineer. Frank?
Mayor and council, just want to let you know we've got our low water crossings flood control project out to bid. Our chip seal bid should be out in the next week or two. We've got other projects going on and actually getting done. And a large part of that is because I now have help by way of Stephen Sullivan. If you want to stand up, Steve.
Steve, why don't you come up to the podium?
Okay. He's been a great help in just a few weeks he's been here. Comes to us from California, registered engineer in California, soon to be Arizona, and couldn't be happier to have him. Wanted to let you guys get a look at him so you can get him just as much as you do me.
Stephen, you want to say something about yourself?
Not a whole lot. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
welcome.
you, Frank.
Welcome, David.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go on to call to the public. Call to the public is an opportunity for the public to address the council on any issue within the jurisdiction of the council that is not on the agenda. Public comment is encouraged. Individuals are limited to speak for 3 minutes. The total time for call to the public may be up to 30 minutes per meeting. Council action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing study to staff to study the matter, scheduling the matter for further consideration, and decision at a later date, or responding to criticism. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Come up, Supervisor Brown.
You know I never miss an opportunity. Good evening,
Yes,
Council,
sir, I've known
Mayor.
you for quite a while, Craig, and you
Well, I
never-
just wanted, I wanted to come and voice a very big thank you from Yavapai County to the staff and people of Chino Valley for the Viewpoint Fire and the assistance that you gave us out on the road out there, towards Old Home Manor. We were able to call you within a few minutes, get, allocation of water out of your fire hydrants. And Celia Gritton, who unfortunately is not here, I wanted to say thank you to her because she was our contact point at that time. Wanted to thank Chief Wynn for all of his assistance with the Sheriff's Department and getting ready for evacuation if it needed to be. And everybody worked very well together. And wanted to say thank you.
Well, we should. This is a regional group, and we need to work together
There you
on
go.
all these items. Thank you, Craig,
Thank you,
very
Mr.
much.
Mayor.
Anybody else? Anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, let's go on to response to the public. Response to the public is an opportunity for the mayor to inform the public about how town officials address matters raised during call to the public as a previous meeting. We did not have anything at call to the public for a previous meeting, so we'll go on to current events and summaries. This item is for information only. The mayor, any council member, or town manager may present a brief summary or report of current events or ask a staff member to provide the same. Presentation on information requested by the mayor and council will be made and questions answered. No action will be taken. Do we have anybody on this side that would like to speak?
I would.
Okay.
The town of Chino Valley and our Chino Valley School District have been working really well together, and I just wanted to extend my congratulations to the graduating seniors class of 2018 who are graduating tomorrow, and the eighth graders that got promoted last night to the Chino Valley High School. That's it.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that. Anybody else on this side? Anyone on this side?
Nope.
Okay. Let's go on to the, okay, let's see. Chief, did you want to come up? He was trying to escape. I know he was in the back doing it.
Mayor and council, Supervisor Brown stole all my thunder.
Yeah.
Town Manager Gritman asked me to publicly, on her behalf, say thanks to everybody that did help with the Viewpoint fire. That basically came right up to our back door. And if it wasn't for the great response we had from the fire departments, road department, Yavapai County, the sheriff's office, getting that thing stopped, it could have got really, really bad. So, on her behalf, she wanted to extend her thank you to everybody. And as Supervisor Brown said, the reason these things get taken care of so well is that we work so well together with all the other agencies.
Absolutely.
So that mutual aid just, came into play, and it just showed how well, we can coordinate and take care of these things. So on her behalf, thank you.
And
Thanks,
please
Chief.
extend this to your staff from the council, the work that they did. Thank you.
I think I just saw Chief pull up, actually, so.
Anyone else on staff? Okay. Let's go on to consent agenda. All these items listed below are considered to be routine and may be enacted by one motion. Any council member may request to remove an item from the consent agenda to be considered and discussed separately. Let's go on this side. You want to pull anything?
No.
This side?
I would like 6A pulled.
6A, okay. Town clerk, would you read 6B, please?
Okay, it's trying. Well, never mind. 6B, consideration and possible action to adopt resolution number 18-1122, approving the proposed statements and estimates of expenses of the town of Chino Valley's.
Is it working now? I can read it if it's not
No,
working.
it's okay. Yeah. Where was I? Okay, estimates and expenses of the Town of Chino Valley Street Lighting Improvement Districts for fiscal year 2018-2019 pursuant to Section 48-616 Arizona Revised Statutes as amended, setting a date for public hearing on the proposed statements and estimates as approved, and providing for notice of the hearing and publication of the proposed statements and estimates of the expenses of the districts, which shall be provided for by the levy and collection of ad valorem taxes on the assessed value of all real and personal property in the districts. 6C, consideration and possible action to accept the May 8, 2018 regular meeting minutes.
Thank you. Can I have a motion for B and C?
Yes, make a motion, we accept consent agenda B and C.
Second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion's carried. Let's go back to item A. Would you please read item A? I'll read, never mind, I'll read it. It's easier for me to do it.
Oh, here it is. Consideration and
Okay.
possible action to revise and renew tow company contracts with ACT Towing, Custom Towing, Tri-City Towing, and TNT Towing effective July 1, 2018 through June 30th, 2019.
Chief Wynn, would you come on down, please, again? Okay. Councilman Mendoza, you have a question?
Chief Wynn, you had no substantial changes in the contract.
No, sir. Lieutenant Sean worked with the legal team to put this all together. Now, I was informed, I guess there's been a minor change that the town attorney can explain. But all the tow companies received the contracts, signed them, and returned them, and there was no questions.
Okay, they were all notified
Right.
then.
They all received the contracts, had time to review them, ask any questions. They were all returned signed. Unfortunately, because there's a little tiny clerical error, we're going to have to send them back with the change. But I'll let him explain the legal.
Mr. McGuire?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The change really is just dealing with how we amend contracts going forward. We put in what we call an estoppel provision. It's to ensure that everybody's on the same page going forward before you amend any contract, that the deck is clear. There's not any outstanding claims or anything that can come from that point forward. Everybody's on the same page as of the date of the amendment. So it really is, it's standard language that was just missing from what they signed. So we'll send it back out to them and have them take care of it.
Okay.
Is there any reason we can't approve this tonight?
None whatsoever. You can approve it and then we can take the amended versions out for their signatures.
Okay, any other questions?
Ready to go forward?
All right, let's need a motion?
Okay, make a motion to accept consent agenda A.
Second.
Motion, 2 seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Let's go on to action items. Thank you, Chief. The council may vote to recess the public meeting and hold an executive session on any item on this agenda pursuant to ARS 38-431-03A3 for the purpose of discussion or consultation for legal advice with the town attorney. Executive sessions are not open to the public, and no action may be taken in executive session. The first item is consideration and possible action to adopt a conditional use permit, CUP 18003, for approximately 4.55 acres of real property located approximately 1,000 feet south of the southwest corner of East Road 2 North and North Road 1 East at 784 North Road 1 East to allow the applicant to continue the operation and maintenance of a well drilling business consisting of a storage vehicle, machinery, and supplies in the AR5 Agricultural Residential 5-acre minimum zoning district. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is going to be hopefully quite quick. The applicant's not here tonight, unfortunately. The applicant would be, on behalf of the property owner, is Ruth Mayday. She's unfortunately had to be out of town. Well, not unfortunately, she's on vacation, so lucky her. But she did ask if we could postpone to the June 12th hearing so that she could be in attendance to represent the client. Staff supports the continuance.
Okay, any problems postponing this?
Not for me.
Okay,
Postpone.
motion, please.
Do we have to make a motion?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Okay, we'll make a motion to postpone item 7A until June 12th, regular meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second it.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Motion carries. Thank you. Let's go on to item B, consideration of possible action to adopt resolution number 18112 for a minor general plan amendment to change the land use designation of approximately 9.49 of 15.9 acres of real property generally located approximately 0.25 miles west of northwest corner of North Road 1 West and West Road 4 North intersection at 1460 West Road 4 North from medium-density residential land use designation to commercial multi-use family residential land use designation. And then I'm going on to the second one, but we'll handle them separately. Consideration and possible action to adopt ordinance number 18848 to rezone 15.9 acres from CL/MR-PAD, commercial light multifamily residential with a planned area development overlay to 6.42 acres of SR1 and 9.49 acres of CL, single-family residential, 1 acre minimum and commercial light respectively, and rezone the remaining 59 acres from AR5 agricultural residential 5-acre minimum to SR1 owner Lavaca Trust, Jason Sanks, Development Services Director.
Thank you again,
Let's
Mayor.
go with the
Council.
first item.
Absolutely. The requested general plan amendment is what I kind of refer to as a cleanup amendment. As many of you know, the windmill house facilities and event center that evolved in the mid-2000s, and not until recently, I think in 2015, was it actually rezoned to commercial with a multifamily kind of hybrid zoning, if you will. At that time, when it was rezoned to commercial, it should have been initiated at that time, a minor general plan amendment to take that underlying property designation from residential to the commercial multifamily as you find along the 89, as you see on your general plan land use map. At that time, however, it was not done. However, the rezoning was completed. So coming back in as the windmill house owners came in to initiate the rezoning case, we advised them we would like to sweep in and clean the general plan up at that time, because we should always be in conformance with the general plan. And when we find these items over time, we should clean them up. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see other properties, in the next few years get cleaned up. I found a few others. So the issue here is the rezoning case could proceed whether or not you do choose to clean up the map, if you will. It already has commercial zoning for the windmill house. We would just like to amend the map.
Questions?
Not for me.
Questions? No. Do I have a motion to approve?
Okay, make a motion to approve 7B, item 1, to adopt resolution number 18-1120 for minor general plan amendment to change the land use designation of approximately 9.49 of 15.9 acres of real property generally located approximately 1/4 mile west of the northwest corner of North Road 1 West and West Road 4 North intersection at 1460 West Road 4 North from medium-density residential land use designation to commercial multifamily residential land use designation.
Do I have a second?
Second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Let's go on with the second portion.
Thank you, Mayor. And I do have the PowerPoint pulled up, so that'll help illustrate the more complex issues as you read out the rezoning request. I can kind of summarize where we're at right now. The property is zoned AR5 largely. The windmill house itself is zoned commercial multifamily. And really what they want to do is downzone some of the commercial windmill house property to SR1 and take all of the AR5 to SR1. The idea is to do single-family lots and then keep the windmill house. So that's the summary in the beginning, and then this will help kind of
Okay.
illustrate the details.
Thank you.
So JC Ranch, it's the Cordovana property. It's owned by the Cordovanas. JC Ranch is the name of the project, includes the windmill house. We've already gone through the GPA. We'll go to the zone change. This map illustrates with the underlying aerial the subject property. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner of the green space through the aerial, that's the windmill house property, and it's noted there with the ledger line. All the green up to the north and wrapping the windmill house, that's all proposed to be SR1. Here's the property description. It's comprised of 3 different parcels at this time, about 75 acres total combined. Existing zoning, again, is AR5, CL MRPAD. The PAD had been used back in 2015 to kind of eliminate a couple of the commercial uses that they were concerned about. I'll get to it in a bit, but in my review of what's allowed in CL and based on the development of this project, we weren't concerned with any of the CL uses being a nuisance. In fact, they're self-insulating, if you will, by their own development, so we didn't see any impacts. Project history: on December 8th, 2015, Council adopted the MRPAD zoning that included the CL. Again, they proposed to do the Windmill House Event Center, which was already in operation, as well the provision to allow some multifamily residential on the property. The property has not been built out. Of course, the event house is there, but there's not any multifamily proposed. So as they came in to staff to talk about, hey, we'd like to take some of this MLCR zoning and actually turn it to SR1, I advised them at the time that staff could help them with that, but we wanted to take the MR zoning off. There's no sense in leaving hybrid multifamily zoning on a property that has no intention of developing multifamily. So while we're in there cleaning it up, let's just clean it up for exactly what it is and get it down to just base commercial for the windmill house, and then the request for SR1 for large lot residences. We've gone through the GPA. I won't reread that. Again, they don't have any plans to do any multifamily development on this property. So they're taking a portion of the property that's zoned SR1, and they are, MLCR, and going to SR1 and leaving just the 6.4 acres they need for the event center as commercial. The applicant's also requesting to rezone the great majority of the other property into SR1 to come up with 52 total lots, and I'll show you the development plan next. Again, there's the property that's the current zoning on it. And this would be the aerial underlay with the windmill house there with the lake, and then all of the lots. Now we've kind of reorientated it so it fits better on the screen. So left is actually south, not west. And then there'll be a collector street that comes up that'll provide access, continued access to the windmill house, and then connect 4 south to 4.5 north. So we'll have 2 points of access on that property, so there's no issue with emergency access. And then these are all 1 acre lots. You'll see a string of 1 acre lots across 4 north as well. Site infrastructure will consist of Appaloosa water. It'll be provided through an 8-inch line and Real Long Road 4 North extending throughout the site. Because there aren't any sewer lines within close proximity to the site, they'll need to do septic tanks, which will get approved for Yavapai County. Staff has reviewed this at P&Z through both study session. It's also been to hearing. We do recommend approval of the request. There seemed to be an overwhelming consensus at P&Z that this makes better sense. Large lot residences with windmill house. We don't need apartments or condos out there. Didn't work out. We'd rather see this happen anyhow. However, we did have a couple members of the community speak. They're here tonight, I've noticed, and they may speak. I'll go back to the plan. If you look at the 2 lots to the north, in the very top left corner of the site, those 2 large parcels that back to that entry drive, there's been an ongoing concern that the additional traffic and intensity of the land use, should you support the zoning, could generate light and noise friction with their lots and their lifestyle. They've asked for a 6-foot boulder wall to be located there. The 6-foot wall would need to be stretched across the entire west boundary of the site, but just across those 2 lots is what they've proposed. That request is in your draft ordinance. I would suggest that in your draft ordinance, and I'll get to the conditions in a minute, we actually amend the language in the draft ordinance for that condition to specify the 2 parcel numbers that are associated with those lots, so that it's not inferred in the future that that wall would have to go all the way along the west boundary. And I'll go over to the conditions. So With the conjunction of all this stuff, there are going to be water and sewer improvements. Clearly, they're going to have to get a certificate of assured water supply for the project. That's listed in item A. B, sewer. Even though they're not going to have sewer plans, they're going to have plans for their sewer ridge, which will be through Yavapai County for the septics. And then, as per code, they are required to do street improvements. That could include paving, curb gutter, and sidewalk. Now, you probably know that there's not sidewalk in the area for some time. This is probably going to be the biggest point of discussion tonight. And I think, we've got our Public Works Director here, town attorneys here, the applicants are here. And I've spoken with them. They contend, why are we doing sidewalks here? They're not going to anywhere. It's all low density residential. However, because it's in the code, we're presenting to you what's in the code. Staff doesn't have, it's not within our purview to just wantonly deviate from code and present you something less than what code would require. But should council wish to work with the applicant on those improvements, either defer them for some time or perhaps even waive them in regards to the sidewalks especially, I think that's within your power, and we can have Andrew comment on that. Again, continues on about required street improvements here. And then the last item is that number 5. We've added the APNs for those 2 parcels, and that's how staff would like to amend their recommendation and P&Z recommendation to reflect the actual discussion at P&Z is just for those 2 lots. And then, of course, drainage and grading. And those would all pertain to, would be all requirements that would be implemented to the preliminary plat. And just for your reference, they have submitted for technical review of their preliminary plat, so it looks like they do intend to move forward fairly quickly.
Okay, questions on this side?
Why just those 2 parcels if the community, so to speak, is extending all the way back?
Thank you, Councilmember Lane. The property owners to the north didn't ask for them. Those that participated, some have been kind of not involved. And then if you go back, those are lots residential lots backing into residential lots in an area where they don't necessarily have walls between them. You have a lot of 1 acre and larger parcels that just butt up with one another, maybe with split rail fencing or other types of fencing. So we really haven't required masonry walls throughout. And since the only 2 people that spoke in interest of a wall are here tonight, we've requested the wall just on their properties. And that's where most of the traffic, you'll see the turning angles of the street. I'll go back.
Thank you.
Right there, you see the turning angle of the street that catches those lights when they come around? That was the concern.
So parcel 039B and 036 aren't in concern with that. My question is why is there not, if I understand the 2 parcels on the southwest side requesting the wall, my question is why is the wall not going to be required for the remaining part of the development?
That's a good question. Those are all single-family residential large lots that are backing to that west property line. And so we haven't been consistent or required that in the past, and nobody's asked for it on additional lots. We just applied it to the portion that's going to get the majority of the commercial traffic, and I can use I think my mouse is going to work. Oh, it's gone off again. I just wanted to use the mouse so anybody that's watching on video could see these 2 lots.
Where's the one with sometimes you just have to flip it
Okay, sorry.
on and off.
And that's because that's where we'll also get the traffic entering the site for the Windmill House for events. But we don't anticipate, there we go. This right here, we don't anticipate that much more traffic that's going to continue on for here. I don't know, we just really didn't, we didn't really negotiate a wall
Where's
here.
the walls going to be or supposed to be or
From right here
right here?
to right here. And then
To there.
Bumblebee Lane dead ends right here, like a little turnaround. And then this is a larger parcel we've undeveloped. The owner hasn't participated in the process. And then these are all single-family lots backing up, large lots. And we haven't forced the issue of walls on acre lots and larger elsewhere. We've seen it proposed in Appaloosa, but and even in Appaloosa, it's a mix of sometimes solid walls. Even Wally Ray doesn't have solid walls between lots. So if it's the will of the council, you certainly could think if there's concerns about negative impacts, you could press for that. Certainly within your options. This was really more where we came to as kind of a negotiation, and yet I believe the owners here tonight, they still want to push it back against even the wall against those 2 lots, at least in our discussions.
Negative.
I don't understand why we're even talking about this. The recommended action is just for the zoning change back to SR1, correct?
It's a zone, it's a bit, Councilmember Mendoza, it's a zone change to rezone the CLMR portion, property to just CL with no PAD overlay, a portion of that CLMR PAD property to SR1, and then AR5 to SR1. Through that rezoning case, if you feel that the action of adopting an ordinance to more or less take his density 5 times higher would have a negative impact on adjacent large lot properties, you could impose nominal conditions as a nexus to mitigate those through the zoning case. You can impose a wall condition if you so feel that it should be there. If you don't believe in it, you can also ask to have that stricken.
Yes, I see no PAD tied to this recommendation.
That's correct.
So therefore, all your requirements in your presentation, water, sewer, streets, once we approve SR1, is there anything, because it's not in here, there's no plat that we're looking at?
We're adopting the development plan with it. It's not very complex. It's just more or less a site plan laying out the intention of development that their preliminary plat would have to follow, and we can attach it to an SR1 zoning case.
And when will we see that?
The preliminary plat, Mayor? It would probably take a couple months. They're in technical review. We don't have a formal submittal, and I'm not certain if we have everything we need to even process it formally.
Okay.
So I guess once we approve in SR1, then he doesn't need to, they're not obligated to follow their conceptual site plan here, are they?
Mayor and
Because
council,
they're
we can't adopt
then-
it, if we can't adopt a site plan through ordinance for this. I mean, I can't really go too far with it. I mean, we can't add, illustrative exhibits like you've seen with other cases. Remember when we talked about the Perkinsville project, since it was a PAD, we had them put lots of information on landscaping and other things to justify their deviations from code to allow the PAD. In this case, they can just have a site plan or development plan tied to their ordinance. It's common practice in any jurisdiction I've ever worked in. I can have Andrew comment on that.
Mr. McGuire?
And the conditions required in the ordinance, we drafted the ordinance together, so.
Mayor and members of the council, because it's a straight rezoning, all of the conditions of your codes apply to them. And so this may be the site plan that's developed, it may not be the site plan that's developed. You have a little bit less latitude when you're dealing with a straight rezoning than you do a PAD. PAD is a trade-off, essentially. In this case, this is straight across SR1. There's not anything different from one to the other, so you need to treat those categories the same. And so imposing a condition upon one straight zoning case that you don't on another makes them different. And in this instance, you don't have that additional, you're not giving as much to be able to get as much certainty with respect to what's going to be built.
Okay. You said this site plan may or may not be the site plan used for this.
Correct. Even if
Okay.
approved with this site plan, this may not be the site plan that was built because it's still straight rezoning.
Okay.
It's not a PAD.
I don't want the public to be implied that this is what's going to happen there. There still could be some differences.
So like we would probably do a general conformance with the site plan. They could wiggle things around quite a bit. We would have a preliminary plat, which would also come back to this council.
Okay. So if you were to look up just the regulations for SR1, they would then have to comply with those regulations that are in the code would apply to this zoning change, to an SR1. Okay.
And Jason, did you say that the wall for APN ending in 023 and 023
It should be
they're the same?
024.
Okay.
I've actually verified that that's a typo on the site plan.
Okay.
That's why the draft conditions in the PowerPoint are correct.
Are those conditions of the approval where they're seeking tonight?
Those are the conditions that staff and P&Z have recommended.
Okay. And the applicant is here against
The applicant
those?
is here. The applicant, when the applicant's asked to speak, will likely give you a statement on their feelings on the roadway improvements on the wall.
Also, on the response to the public when they did have the meeting, the area concerning the wall, if you look at it at your top left as you're looking at that photo there or down here on it, the reason is those homes are in close proximity to that property line where the curve in the road for the exit to the left as we're looking at it would present lights at night and traffic to the two residents there. And that is the reason in the call for the wall, was to diminish lights into their property at, in a home area. People can come and go this America whenever they want. So the request was to get a wall there that would preclude dense, control the noise as well as the lights at night for those two homes in the lots pointed out, your top left two there.
Okay,
And then one other thing,
okay.
this does remove the multi-residential, correct? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Okay, we don't have a requirement for block walls in any other part of our town along any other roadway in our community. I don't see a need to start it now. Anybody who lives on a corner lot anywhere in Chino Valley, if a car turns by, the lights go up their driveway, for a split second, while the car goes around. So I don't see the difference here. This is just gonna be another town road. So, I'm not really in for making that a mandatory for anybody doing a 1 acre plot like this.
But on that point, there are 15 or so 1 acre lots, so the traffic volume will be quite a bit heavier.
Okay. Any other discussion? Well, is there anyone out there who would like to speak on this issue?
I'd like the applicant to speak.
Anyone wants to speak? I'll give you a couple of minutes to come up and put your side of this. Come up and give us your name. And,
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Wayne Moyer. I own one of those properties there we're talking about, and that property line is within, I'm going to guess, 25 feet of my buildings. And there's going to be, if there's 52 homes, you might as well figure a good 100 cars in and out. Not that they're all going to use that. But when I bought that property, I bought it because it was on a dead-end road. There's no traffic. And that's going to depreciate my property value big time if there's no wall there. There's trees there now. They're really sparse. Half of them are dead. It's not maintained. It's just not good for the property value.
Okay.
So, thank you. I hope you take that into consideration.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Robert Schoon, and I live at 1498 West Road, 4 North. I'm also one of the lots, the one that's right on 4 North there. And the request for the wall was just because that is going to be basically a road going through. There is some, I've noticed around in Chino, I've gone to several other projects where when the roads or housing developments impact other residences, they have put in walls. Again, it's just because that's basically a commercial property next to residential. And then now they're adding an additional road for all of that traffic. I know they've mentioned putting plants and stuff along there, but if you look at the plants that they've put there as a buffer before, they're not maintained. Half of them are dead. There's huge gaps in between. It's not going to block the light. It's not going to block the noise from the additional traffic. And a wall would create a permanent structure that doesn't require any maintenance in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Would one of you gentlemen like to speak to this issue?
Tony Cordovana, representing the property. Mayor, members of the town council. In addressing the wall, first of all, in addressing the issues of the plants that are there that they're saying that aren't maintained, those are cypress trees that were planted there about 15 to 20 years ago. And they were planted when nobody was there. We were just bordering the property. So in preparing the plat that we plan to submit, we have a landscape plan that's going to be required. And in that landscape plan, we plan to address that entire tract, I think it's tract A up there, with landscaping. Our request is that you know, to be stipulated to put a 6-foot wall for 600 feet, we can address those concerns with those neighbors on two items. One with the landscaping and with some landscape fencing versus a solid 6-foot wall for that many feet. We're not saying we don't want to work with the neighbors, we definitely do. But I think we can address that through the plat approval. Also, Jason can attest to this too, that the angle of that driveway that goes in there, we've proposed bringing the driveway straight out to Road 4 North. So we can always consider talking more about the entry to this property. And in addressing the word, you know, noise from traffic, you know, one of the homeowners faces Road 4 North. How is he addressing the noise from the traffic on Road 4 North? There's no block fence there. So I just respectfully request that that item on the block wall be removed and the approval be granted for SR1, and we'll address those issues through the plat approval. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I just state what I did before. I don't see it as being a justified requirement based on the rest of the things that we do in town, and I would agree at this point to strike it.
Down here, I'd like to readdress, I think if the landscaping does, you know, get some trees, and because that will absorb sound and light simultaneously, it, you know, but I think something does need to protect those two lots.
On the recommended action, I'd like to see us just go ahead and do the zoning change to SR1, leaving the final line with the following conditions of approval. I'd like to scratch that and then come back with the plat, and we'll deal with just the plat all on its own.
Comments?
If they're gonna straighten out the road, I don't see if there's gonna be a problem.
So that should probably be part of the plat is.
Well, Mayor and Council, they came in with a hand drawing with the straightened out road, which was obviously be an attempt to alleviate the issue. And then it hasn't, we asked them to resubmit with a site plan that indicated it's straightened out.
So
But we can address it at the plat if you prefer.
So straighten out the road and put landscaping in. Can be addressed in the plat.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, and we can, if we want to address the sidewalk issues or any others, let's just deal with that as a separate,
Councilperson Lane, do you have?
instead of adding on.
I'm in big favor of taking it to single-family residential 1 instead of multifamily. But I do think there are some concerns that will need to be worked out down the road.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Well,
Mayor and Council, I'm sorry, I apologize. The issue of the sidewalks on the right-of-way improvements, he didn't address them, but they're listed there as a requirement. So if you'd like them to stay, then we can
As far
vote
as
on
I'm
it.
concerned, anything we do, we put sidewalks in.
Okay.
That's my feeling. I don't know how everybody else
Could you
feels.
please pull up the requirements, Jason?
Oh, sure. And Frank
It's one of the
prepared.
issues that we have
Here we-
builders coming up here for is where they don't wanna put sidewalks in, and we have children that walk to school, and we have a lot of things that we probably need to have sidewalks for.
If you don't mind, Mayor and Council, it's item 3, and it's the last sentence where it says not limited to pavement widening, curb gutter, sidewalk, and drainage improvements. And that's language intended to match the town's adopted street standards for arterial roadways, which would include 4 North.
Okay? Questions? Comments?
Attorney McGuire, I have a question. Can we strike number 5? Or do we have to approve all of them? Can we address number 5 when it comes back for plat review, or do we have to approve it as it stands right now?
Can we
And-
strike it and come back and say that will be done?
Condition number 5 regarding the 6-foot wall.
Correct.
The wall is a condition of improvement of zoning. It's not included in your subdivision regulations, so if you want to include that as a requirement, it needs to be in here with the zoning.
My question would be, can we remove that so that we can address it in the plat, or is it required that it stays in order for us to proceed to move forward with this?
Because the time that you rezone a piece of property is the time that you have the discretion. So the trade-offs are at that point. In this case, one of the impacts that's being viewed for the changes to the property is being mitigated by the 6-foot wall. And so it's a condition of approval. It's on the zoning end rather than on the subdivision end. So if you have unique specific things to a rezoning case, they should attach the rezoning itself and not to the subdivision later on.
Okay, so we're kind of in a pickle here. We can't scratch all of the recommendations in order to scratch number 5, the wall.
So I'm gonna, just to be, I guess, hopefully not too redundant here. So if I want to make a motion to accept this rezoning and strike just the 6-foot wall requirement, can we do that?
Yes.
Okay.
And if I may,
How'd you get
Mayor,
a short answer?
if I may address.
Yes.
Would that still address in the plat, then still be into the plat once it's, when the finals come in? Or there would be no consideration?
The direction from this council is to address that in the plat.
Mayor and council,
Right.
you certainly can strike all of condition 5, but if your intent is to still try to work with the neighbors and mitigate something, you can say, you can direct staff, we can derive some language for the condition that says staff will continue to work to straighten out the roadway, enhance landscaping to mitigate impacts of traffic lights and noise.
Yes, please.
Yes.
So it's a softer language, but it still protects the neighbors.
That sounds good.
Remember all that?
Of course.
Come on, lawyer.
And Mayor, just to be clear, stipulations of approval like this, you can have stipulations on requested items all the way down as far as building permit. Your discretion is greater at the rezoning time. So if you're going to ask for things, it's typically best to do them on this end. But all of the major cases in this area are building permit cases. So clearly you're able to mitigate things along the way. We prefer you do it on the front end.
And this was planning and zoning's recommendation was number 5.
Mayor and Councilmember Lane, staff initially did not have a recommendation that included the wall. P&Z, through the discussion and public input, drafted that condition with staff at the hearing. So it was
From
added at P&Z.
From the public response to the call to the public that went out and they showed up for that.
Yeah, I think we understand that. So, where are we?
We're in a
can make-
pickle.
Where are we?
We're in a pickle.
I don't believe we really are. We just,
No, this-
okay, well, I'll make a motion. We'll see where it goes.
Okay.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 18-848 to rezone assessor's parcel numbers 306-05-030R, 306-05-031V, and 306-5-031T, approximately 75 acres of real property as follows: 15.9 acres from CL/MR/PAD to 6.42 acres of SR1 and 9.49 acres of CL, and the remaining 59 acres from AR5 to AR1 with considerations,
SR1.
or SR1, with the considerations as recommended and discussed, except for the portion that requires a 6-foot wall across, I believe, 600 feet, the 2 acres, and would have the applicant work with our development services to use some type of fencing and landscaping to provide a barrier of light and sound.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Nay.
We have, motion carries. Let's go on to the next item. Item C, consideration and possible action to adopt ordinance number 18-849, rezoning assessors parcel number 306-21004C, approximately 5.71 acres of real property, generally located approximately 1,000 feet west of northwest corner of West Road 1 North and North Road 1 West at 1190 West Road 1 North from AR5 agricultural residential 5-acre minimum zoning district SR1 single family residential 1-acre minimum zoning district. Mr. Lerma.
For some reason, that's the only reason it's making it. Well, you've got the white line.
Okay. I'll just, I'll look at it.
Figure out how to get the battery.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you have a request by the applicants, Mr. and Mrs. Harper. Subject property is located approximately 1,000 feet west of the northwest corner of West Road 1 North and North Road 1 West and 1190 West Road 1 North. Property is accessed through West Road 1 North here. Property improvements include a single-family residence, a guest home, and a workshop. The applicant has a request in the zone change from the current zoning of agriculture residential 5-acre minimum to the proposed zoning of single-family residential 1-acre minimum. The property is 5.7 acres, and it is in the general plan, and it has a general plan land use designation of medium-density residential. Here you have the zoning map. As you can see, the request zoning that they're proposing is supported by zoning to the west of the property, to the north of the property, and some to the south of the property. The applicant had a neighborhood meeting on March 18th, and during said meeting, 15 surrounding property owners attended the meeting. The discussion was basically about the applicant giving them a brief description of the proposal for the request zone change. If they get the requested zoning, then the applicants are pursuing forward to do a lot split. And basically the split will be in this nature. One of the middle lot will reflect about 3 acres, and the one to the right and to the left will represent 1 acre. The applicant is gonna create legal access through a 50-foot easement abutting what is Poco Lane. They're working closely with APA. There's an issue here for legal access. They have power lines going through the ground, but the applicant is working closely with APA to clear that issue so they can have the legal access through all 3 parcels through Poco Lane. The item went before the Planning and Zoning Commission on May 1st. During said meeting, there was a comment from the public. She wanted to know if the lot split will create a landlock. Staff clarified that by creating that 50-foot legal access, all properties will have legal access, basically. Staff supports the applicant's request for a zone change, and so does Planning and Zoning Commission that approved it, forward an approval with a 7-0 unanimous decision.
Alex, is that line down there, is that the road in, the egress
Right now?
right now?
Yeah.
Right
now, the property has legal access.
I see that. I'm asking if it's gonna be, is that gonna continue to be a road to egress and enter
What?
that property? That line,
The T.
the pink,
The T.
the bottom?
The bottom
That
of it.
property.
Okay, you're talking about the flagpole.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So once they, give me just a minute. Once they proceed forward with the lot split, the middle property that will reflect the 3.7 acres will have legal access through both the road in the bottom and the easement on the top.
How about that one property on the left? Are they gonna have
They're gonna only have legal access through the 50-foot easement created through Poco Lane.
okay.
And the only one that's gonna have double legal access is the one in the
It's
middle.
the one in the middle.
Right, through the public road and the easement on top.
How about getting fire engines and other equipment in there? Is that gonna be an issue?
Through,
Emergency equipment in there?
no.
Through that? No? Okay.
No. A driveway requirement, I believe, is 40 feet, and
Okay.
they're clearing that.
I don't know, the fire chief's here, he could answer that question. Awesome, okay. Takes care of that. Thanks, Scott. Okay, any other questions?
I don't have any.
Questions on this side?
Not me.
Then I'll need a motion.
Okay, I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 18-849, rezoning APN 306-21-004C, approximately 5.71 acres of real property addressed as 1190 West Road 1 North from AR5 zoning district to SR1 zoning district.
Second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Let's go on to item D. Consideration of possible action to approve the third amendment to the accountability contract and scope of services between the town of Chino Valley and Chino Valley Area Chamber of Commerce for FY 18-19 in the amount of $55,000 of general support and a match up to $3,000 if approved for an Arizona Office of Tourism grant, and split the cost of a second year of a VISTA volunteer program as described in the third amendment. Mr. Coomer, well, there you are.
Well, I'm back, yes, Mr. Mayor, Town Council. Rather than going through the whole thing again, if there are any questions, we are again represented by a strong showing of the Chamber Board and our current Director of the Chamber. So if there are any questions, we'd be happy to entertain them at this time. If you'd like me to go over that again, I'd be happy to do that.
I don't, let's look this side. Any questions? Questions, Mike?
No, not this time.
Questions?
We're gonna do it.
Okay, I need a motion.
Okay. Okay, I make a motion to approve the third amendment to the accountability contract and scope of services between the town of Chino Valley and the Chino Valley Area Chamber of Commerce for fiscal year 18-19 in the amount of $55,000 of general support. A match up to $3,000 if approved for an Arizona Office of Tourism grant, and split the cost of a second year of the VISTA volunteer program as described in the third amendment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
That was painless.
Okay, let's don't get rowdy out there.
Always.
Okay, come on up. Mr. Duffy is our finance director.
Dun, dun,
Why does he get
dun.
applause?
Pardon?
Why does he get applause?
Because we're scared of you.
All right, let's go to item.
He keeps it short.
Yeah. Item
No PowerPoints.
Jack's not here tonight, so. Consideration of possible action to approve resolution number 18-1121, approving a tentative budget for the fiscal year 2018-2019 and proposed expenditure limitation for the same year in the amount of $24,525,200 and setting a public hearing date for June 26, 2018 on the tentative budget and adoption of the final budget. Mr. Duffy, you're going to do a little presentation for us.
Actually, since Councilman Miller is not here, I'm going to keep it down to 2 slides.
All right.
Ooh.
And I just want to really quick go to the very end here. This is just the next step in our final budget steps. As you know, on May 16th, we did our budget hearings with the council, or actually we didn't do them. We did a presentation in the meeting before. And tonight we'll adopt the tentative budget. This sets the expenditure limitation for the town. So we cannot spend any more than what we adopt tonight as our total dollar amount, but we can always reduce it before we adopt the final budget. We then publish it for 2 weeks in the paper and post it on our website, and then on June 26th, I'll give you a nice 15 or 16 page or PowerPoint presentation, and then we'll have a public hearing for the community. So tonight, with your approval, we're recommending that we adopt the tentative budget for $24,525,200.
That's it.
That's it.
Questions?
Corey, you got your question answered on the dump truck, or did you have that discussion?
I know it's an open, it's still an open deal.
Okay.
So yes, we're good.
And Councilman Turner, that item will come up to you guys next year. It just allows us to spend that much on equipment.
Individually. You
Okay.
can't approve it. You just can't go buy it. 'Cause that piece of capital.
I just know it was brought up the last time as a concern,
Yeah.
so.
Thank you.
Okay. Any
So we're-
other questions? I know we've been through this before.
Ready?
Ready?
Okay, like to approve resolution number 18-1121, approving a tentative budget and proposed expenditure limitation for fiscal year 2018-19 in the amount of $24,525,200 and setting June 26, 2018 as the date for the public hearing on the tentative budget and for adoption of the final budget for fiscal year 2018-2019.
Second it.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries, and we'll be seeing this again, I'm sure.
I make a motion to adjourn. Sorry, jumped the gun there.
Jack's not here. Would you like to do that?
Your turn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
That was in honor of Jack.
Thank you very much for coming this evening.
Yeah, how about that?
This is wow.
We got through that reasonably quick.
This is more fun than I could stand.
Time to go greet the family that's in town.